Hello, GMA family. Welcome to another edition of Kingdom Conversations. I guess that's what we'll call it. I'm Dave Edwards here with Papa and GMA founder and president, Leif Hetland.
Thank you.
Now, you just returned from the 20-year celebration and anniversary of Global Mission Awareness in Castle Rock, Colorado. Can you share with some of those, like myself, we weren't able to make it, but what were some of your favorite moments and highlights from the event?
I think that one of my favorite things is just to see who came in. A lot of great surprises. We have some of my friends coming in with spiritual sons and daughters from Shanghai, from China.
Wow.
And it's one of those amazing miracle stories how we connected and met. And they kind of surprised us by coming all the way in from China, especially what's going on in this season. And then to see Dr. Marcus Fida, Yasmin and Robert from Pakistan. We've been together for 25 years in Pakistan.
Wow.
Been on the front line, been at war. And for 25 years, we've dreamed of them coming to America. And every year the visa was denied. But this year they got visa, and to watching them in this family gathering, the big family around the world and how they were part of that, and to see the transformation, to see the tears, the joy, the worship, it was just extravagant. And then to see from Cuba, Aki and Yazir. And so I think one of my highlights is just to see our key leaders coming in from different parts of the world, as well as in America. It was genuinely a family environment, family atmosphere. And then another element is just Mike and Christy, that is the lead pastor at The Rock. Just a beautiful way they are hosting us at The Rock Church in Castle Rock. So like during the worship, there was moments, there is 6-7 key worship leaders that are all on an international level, but you wouldn't know who anyone is up on stage. That was another thing that was so extravagant. It was that nameless, fameless move where they were up on the stage and you wouldn't have known, is this from Upper Room or from Cherry Hills Presbyterian Church, or is this The Rock, or this is Bridgeway? If you didn't know them, you would have known the difference. That these are lead worship leaders on a high level that all are coming in and they just pointed towards one another. They did family together. So that was another one of my things. The worship, it was extravagant, and the glory came in. So it was all about the presence of God and the glory of God. And several times you could just feel, we were all undone. So that was another thing. And then for me, it's the fun, because I invited different speakers to see Papa Jack at the age of 86, see Mama Frida. And then we even celebrated Mama Frida's birthday while we were there. But to see my spiritual parents, to see 3 generations coming together there. So you have grandma and grandpa, you have fathers and mothers, you have sons and daughters, all of us together in generation with the very purpose of getting into an alignment, but then also seeing the assignment. I got some big surprises. That was also very special for me, because we had a meeting before the meeting, which was about 150 key pastors, leaders coming in. And just even that was a very significant time. And then Paul and Amira from the Philippines, and there was another one of those kisses from heaven. They had a gift for Jennifer and I, a 20-year anniversary gift. And when I read the prophetic word, and one of the painters painted this huge painting of an eagle, but it was just that prophetic painting of this season. You couldn't have got a more accurate word for that season. And we share that also to the larger audience as they also again read that prophetic words and showed the prophetic painting. That was another one of those kisses from heaven for us, a highlight and a moment. We also honored people with giving some legacy award and covenant awards. So Heidi Baker, just because of our covenant relationship between our lives, but also between our ministries. David Wagner, they got a covenant award. We gave away some legacy awards like Papa Jack and Frida and Yazir. And so that was another thing, honoring some of these people that is actually being entrusted with a legacy of GMA as a family. And then we also had the rod of God, the impartation, and you and Elisha, you received one of those rods that is also represented just from us as a big movement, as a family around the world, and saying you've been faithful, you've been entrusted here as a mantle to take with you. So for me, that also was significant to see the whole big family, how we celebrated that. So there were so many healings, so many breakthroughs, but no doubt about it, my favorite part was the glory. My favorite part was his presence. My favorite part was we were undone. There was several times you were just undone by the glory. I was on the floor one moment for 2 hours there, and Paul Yada and I remember we were laying by the side of each other just weeping, and Heidi Baker had just released the word about the river, and we were just totally undone in the glory. And for hours afterwards I could feel the glory. Paul Yada had a message that David Wagner said was the best message he's ever heard in his life.
Wow.
And it was also one of those. So there was just so many highlights. I feel very rich as a papa. I feel very rich to see what God has done, the maturity of this kingdom family movement, that we become a healthy kingdom family, and hearing the testimony and the stories, what is taking place in people's life, and to see the acceleration that is taking place when you are in a family environment, because that's the environment of heaven that suddenly is being entrusted on earth. And then you see the explosion of that is taking place, where nations are being touched and transformed by the glory of God. So I'm just overwhelmed.
And GMA is impacting the world, and Kingdom Family is sons and daughters, mothers and fathers doing life together. They celebrate one another, they honor one another, and they're willing to say, I'm going to put myself down right now in order to see you become great, in order to help you fulfill your call and connect with the Lord. And that's what really impacts me about being part of this family. So I honor you, Papa Leif. Thanks for allowing me and Elisha to be your son and daughter. It's changed our lives. And I know that for those of you watching on YouTube, you're part of our family, our extended family. And it's our joy to share this with you. A response from the family recently was they really enjoyed your 3 areas of focus for 2020. And I started to think, how could we help them maintain and keep hold of their own personal 2020 words and keep going? It reminded me of your teaching when Jehoash went to Elisha, and Elisha said, strike the ground. Like if he would have kept striking, maybe that's how we can process our words, is just to keep going for it. What would you say to that?
I think that there was 2 elements of that word that was precious for me. One, when Elijah told him that I want you to look out the east window, and I want you to take your bow and an arrow, and I want you to shoot the arrow. So I think there's a connected now. This is what God says that we can do. That's more the sovereignty of God. But it's a little bit up to me, how far do I pull back has to do also how far I go.
Yes.
So there's a lot of people that have a word to go far, but they are not willing to be pulled back far to go far. So that was the one element that is more connected to the sovereignty of God, but part of that word. And that is when Elijah says it is just not how far am I willing, how deep am I willing to go. It's connected also how wide and how high I can go. So that's the one. But then the second part of that is also, he says, now I want you to take an arrow. Now it's more up to you. And he says, I want you to strike the ground. I would think it would be very nice if he says, strike the ground 3 times, 5 times, 10 times, or strike until it stops. But he didn't tell him. He just says, I want you just to strike the ground. He strike the ground just until he had a breakthrough. Yeah. And the thing that saddens my heart and saddened Elijah, because he was not the 3 or 4, 5 strike arrow guy. He said, what if you had continued to strike? So sometimes we just strike enough just to get our temporary victory, instead of not just striking for us or striking for our personal breakthrough, but for the next generation, and continue until. So don't stop striking. So for me, it's not the performance thing, it's a passion thing, that I'm going to continue to strike that arrow. So even this year, I woke up this morning a little tired, because we are a house full of people today, doing podcasts from early in the morning to late at night. But there is that burning passion in me. I'm going to continue to strike. I'm going to continue to strike. And even when I die, and this is the story of Elijah. Elijah was still burning, because he was a person that continued to strike. And even after he died and they buried him, he still continued to strike. So when they threw a dead body into his grave, the person was raised from the dead, because his bones were still on fire even after he died.
His bones were still on fire.
That would be my dream. Is my bones is going to still be on fire. The day when they bury Leif Hetland, my bones are still going to burn. And I'm still going to burn oil and intimacy, and I'm still going to be on fire. So that's I just think it is a thing for me in this season, not the performance thing, I need to do something, but a passion thing, that I'm not going to give up. Everything that God has spoken, everything that God has placed and entrusted over my life, I'm going to strike for it. For my life, for my wife, for my children, for the GMA as a kingdom family movement. That I'm going to continue to strike until every person in the world have experienced how good Papa God is and how loved they are. Until
Wow.
Everyone have experiencing a God just like Jesus. So we're going to strike, 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 full of passion, not performance. It's not
That's so
something
good.
that we do for him. It's something we do from him. And
Yes,
that's what
yes.
love does.
That's what love does. It's like, I read that story and I think, oh, wait, the Lord wants me to do this. Yes, whack, 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 whack. It's like you said, it's coming from what's inside of you. And Elisha's response would have been, I'm already burning. The Lord wants me to strike. I'm going to strike like a madman. Where Jehoash was kind of trying to make an exchange with the Lord, kind of here, like you said, performance. And in performing, he underperformed. But if he was trying not to perform, had moved from passion. So I think you can tie that to your own prophetic words, whether it's the words this year or words that you've been holding on to for several years. Just keep going for it. Don't try to win God's approval. You're already approved. You're already part of the family. So keep going from there. Now, if Leif whet your appetite for some of the experiences at Kingdom Family Gathering, in the past we've had these gatherings because they require investment, and we've actually put them up. For a small fee, you would have access to some of the teachings. But this year we're going to share them on our YouTube channel. And so Papa Leif's going to graciously allow you to see some of the teachings from Mama Heidi Baker, Paul Udall, Papa Jack Taylor, and
David Wagner, Jennifer Hetland.
And Mama Jennifer Hetland. Alicia was really excited. That was one of her favorite words from the weekend, to hear from Mama Jen.
Come on.
So remember to like, subscribe, share our channel with your family and your friends and all the encouragement that comes from it. Thanks for being a subscriber. And Leif, we'll see you again on Kingdom Conversations.
See you soon.